spook easily stung.
Have you ever explored the depths of fear? Have you ever wondered what depravity dwells within the imagination of a storyteller that prompts them to exhume horrors untold and expose those horrors to unsuspecting audiences? Some are repulsed, and some are shaken. However, there are those who are invigorated. So to those demented souls, we invite you to journey inward into the dark bowels of human imagination. Press play, and you will discover what's in the podcast.
Is it scary being a lady FBI agent?
Yeah.
Take a nice long look. A letter was left with the bodies. Signed with one word.
I saw a beast rise up out of the sea with 7 heads and 10 horns. And on his horns he wore 10 crowns. He'll kill and kill again.
I know you're not afraid of a little bit of dark. Because you are the dark.
And welcome back to another edition of What's in the Podcast. And for today, we are playing it loosey-goosey. We are doing a nice, lovely movie spotlight of another hot movie in the theaters right now. One that is much to our delight. As usual, horror wins again at the box office, only this time comes in the form of a film called Longlegs. And this is a film that pretty much was destined for box office greatness just by virtue of the fact that the advertising campaign on this sucker was so wonderfully cryptic and so aloof that people just could not resist this sucker. And naturally, I couldn't. And of course, my guest today absolutely could not either. The utterly wonderful Sparkle in Darkness, or Janie, as I know her, love her, back after a very long stretch after our Talk to Me review. Welcome back, Sparkle.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, yes, this has been way too long, criminally too long, but I'm happy we were back together again.
Yes.
So first and foremost, how have you been in the interim?
Great. Just enjoying my summer. I can't believe it's been like a full year since we talked about Talk to Me.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's gone by pretty quick.
Yeah, and I've just noticed as I was like doing my thumbnails for each episode, and I'm like going, wait a minute, episode 52. You mean I've been doing that? And I've not missed a week, like at all, of like episodes. That I'm like going to myself, you mean I've been doing this for a full year now? But I'm glad we're here together again to talk about this freaking gem of a movie that came out. Arguably, you could say it came out of the blue for the mass populace, because it's not one of those movies that's reliant on a franchise. It's not a movie that has any kind of, apart from just the poster saying Nicolas Cage is in it. I mean, it's not one of those movies that you would have expected to have taken the box office like it seriously has. So,
Yeah.
What was your response when you first got wind of Longlegs?
That it was coming out. I remember seeing something about people already calling it the scariest movie of 2024. And I'm leery because, you hear that about so many movies.
Well, especially for us. I mean, we see so many, like, I mean, as much as I did love Longlegs, I will say flat, I'll stand by my proclamation of The Devil's Bath actually being the scariest movie I've seen this year.
I haven't seen that yet. I need to watch it. But the way I feel about it is, having watched so many horror movies, at this point, I feel like the best that I can hope for, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but is to be creeped out and unsettled, which is exactly what it did. But at this point, that's all I can hope for from the movie, is that it's going to unsettle me. Because
I feel like we're into that type of horror now that seems to be popular with filmmakers. The idea of long, like, even though jump scares are still, a thing, I like how a lot of them are now lingering on holding a camera and just letting like your own dread kind of build up for you. And I feel Longlegs did that really well. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Absolutely. And I don't know if you watched The Black Coat's Daughter. but
I did.
I love like the similarities with it. And I feel like they can be in the same universe.
Yeah. I mean, some people have jokingly said that actually, we're getting too ahead of ourselves. For funsies, go ahead and give us a brief synopsis of Longlegs.
Oh my gosh. A brief, I don't even know where to start.
That's where the fun part is.
I would say that an FBI investigator who has the gift of clairvoyance begins investigating and unraveling these serial murders and ends up discovering more than she meant to, or something like that. I don't know. There's just so many thoughts in my brain when it comes to
yeah.
that's a hard one to just like summarize like that in like one or two sentences.
That's absolutely fine. And honestly, that's good because for everyone, we will be getting into full spoilers in here. So if by some chance you still have not seen Longlegs yet, definitely get out to see it. Suffice to say, we are definitely recommending it. So at this point, stop the podcast, go watch it, and then come back because we will be going in-depth spoilers with this. I get giddy whenever I hear that a horror movie takes the box office by storm. So, and we've had a couple of biggies this year with Immaculate doing well, even stuff like Late Night with the Devil and In a Violent Nature doing really well in a limited release, which really makes me happy. But then to find out that Longlegs just freaking slaughtered the box office just really makes me happy. Just times like that makes me so proud to be a horror fan.
It's such a win for us. I love it.
I had good feelings about it just by virtue of the fact that it stars Maika Monroe, who she in and of herself is kind of a low-key scream queen recently. So I'd say let's focus on her because I don't think people talk about her as much as I think they should.
I agree. I agree. I loved her in, is it Watcher?
Yeah.
And It Follows, both of those movies.
Yeah. Actually, if you want to see her and just absolutely adore her and fall in love with her, I watched another one with her, Bill Skarsgård, and Jeffrey Donovan from Burn Notice, and Kira Sedgwick, and it's called Villains.
Okay.
Yeah, and in it, Kira Sedgwick or Maika Monroe and Bill Skarsgård are these two dim-witted, low-key criminals who are on the run after robbing a liquor store. And when their car breaks down, they seek refuge, or they break into a nearby house, only to find out that it's, right now being squatted in by a homicidal pair who have a feral child chained up in the basement. And so now it becomes this battle of wits between these two dim-witted criminals and these very intelligent sociopaths.
Okay.
And it's really funny and it's really intense, but it's so much fun. But Maika Monroe and Bill Skarsgård are so goddamn adorable together. Actually, I would even say they're adorkable together.
I love that. And I love that the two of them are together in a movie.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it really, as if I didn't need more reason to love Maika Monroe, but to see her play this role in Longlegs and then watch Villains and play such a drastically different character, I think she's a freaking face of the future.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm. So I think to start, we should definitely focus on her character, Lee Harker. She's just recently graduated into the FBI. She has I'm timid to call it psychic power, but she definitely has an intuition, which winds up becoming a benefit to the department. So, were you kind of worried that she was? Now, a lot of people have been obviously drawing parallels to Silence of the Lambs. Were you worried that she was going to be a Clarice clone at the start of this?
I mean, I kind of thought that she would be because I went in thinking, okay, this is going to be like a Silence of the Lambs. But then once I started watching her and how she was, I'm like, okay, no, this is completely different.
Mm-hmm. I remember Maika Monroe openly said she was trying to not play a caricature of the idea that she might be on the spectrum. But I really appreciate that. But I loved the way she interacted with people. There was still a level of awkwardness, but there was never a hint that it was ever inhibiting her or anything like that. But it just really made for such a wonderful, because I've played a character on the spectrum before, and that can be a tricky balance to hit. So I was receptive to what she was doing there, but I think she hit that such right balance that it made Lee Harker actually a very accessible character. And I even like that there was a low-key humor to this movie, which I didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, of course, just every scene with her and Blair Underwood and that kind of adorable scene with Carter's daughter in the bedroom
with Ruby. Yeah, I love that.
Ruby. That, I mean, admittedly, that's like me when I meet someone's kid for the first time, and I'm like, how do I act around this kid? I mean,
Mhm.
have you ever had that moment?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
what
have.
did,
And it's funny because I teach, I teach
oh,
kids. I do, but one-on-one when I'm not at work, it is kind of like, oh, okay. It's just like a whole different in a
mhm.
different environment. Yeah, I could definitely feel her pain.
Yeah, but even more so, it feels so real that a child would, they meet someone new and the first thing they do is, you want to see my room? Because
Mhm.
I remember being a kid and doing that with just randos too, because I'm like, come see my world. And
Mhm.
that just seemed to make sense to me. And I like, and I don't know, there's that, I love that idea that Harker talks to this person like a person. And I
Mhm.
always kind of like that dichotomy, the idea of someone who doesn't treat a child like a child, but actually talks to them as if they actually have their own thought process too, which I think does a wonderful job of hitting home Harker's stakes as to why she does it, or like, because you see her. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm blaming you, Jack Daniels. But,
Yeah, I love that whole exchange. And I found myself chuckling at like how awkward she was.
mhm, yeah,
Yeah, but I did. I love the character. And but then I thought, I'm like, okay, well, I get that, but is she more logical? Like
mhm.
you have some, like I was thinking of the little girl, McKenna Grace on Ghostbusters, where she's like,
Oh,
I
like
don't
Phoebe.
really, she didn't really offer very much emotion. She was just very matter of fact and logically looking at everything. And it kind of made me think, okay, well, is this what she is?
Mhm.
With her being an investigator.
Yeah,
But I really enjoyed watching her
yeah.
portrayal. Yeah.
Though one performance I think is kind of getting ignored, but I think we need to talk about is Alicia Witt, who plays Harker's mom.
I did not recognize her. And I saw her name in the credits, but then later on I was like, holy crap, that's from Urban Legend. I remember her
Yeah,
on Urban. That's
I,
crazy.
I remember her from Cecil B. Demented. That's where
Yeah.
I remember her. Yeah, because she was freaking Cherish in that movie, and I was like, oh my god. And
Yeah.
what's funny is that I think she's, yeah, I think age wise she's not. There's just the right amount of age gap between her and Maika Monroe, where I'm like, I guess you could say she could be her mom, but
Hmm.
even then, her performance is basically chameleonic. I did not even. Yeah, and she just like loses herself in that role, and in many ways, it's
She does. She
yeah.
does. And I just read an article yesterday where I don't know if it's that she wouldn't watch the movie, but she said something about losing herself in her character and letting it come out when she was in the movie, and that she didn't like what she saw
Oh.
come out of her when she was playing the character, which just gives me chills.
Yeah, that's that thing where you're like looking at yourself like, can I actually watch my videos? Can I actually watch myself in my TikTok videos? I mean, you
Yeah.
become so self-conscious and you're like, I actually discovered I'm okay watching myself do my TikTok videos, but I've increasingly discovered I'm actually having a hard time watching like when I'm actually doing a real performance, like an actual like role. So it's like that is weird because you know what it is? I think I see where she's coming from because sometimes you play a role that takes you to such a dark place that you never know
Hmm.
you're capable of.
Hmm.
And when you're playing the role, you have a charge doing it. You like get kind of invigorated doing that role. But then when you watch yourself, you're like going, that I don't like to think that I could ever be that evil person ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And what's funny is that the way they introduce the mom, you don't, she's off-putting, but you don't think she's going to be the kind of person that she winds up being.
I had no idea that we were totally going to get a lot of mom in the
Yeah.
movie. I just thought, she was a side character, and yeah, she was in the middle of the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, and when you meet her, and at the first time you have that great scene where and it's actually kind of an oddly, I hate to describe it as warm, but there's this idea when I'm watching, like going, I can see how this is Lee's mom. I can
Hmm.
see how this makes sense. But I can sense, I got to give Osgood Perkins just, he has a wonderful grace when it comes to conveying conveying character dynamics which are very unconventional, particularly in the way how he shows, like, there's warmth between this mother and daughter. You can tell his mother cares about this daughter, especially when you find out the sacrifice that she makes in order to save her.
Right.
So you see the affection, but you also kind of sense that there's something off-putting about her that maybe very clearly indicates that obviously they did not have an easy life together, but not the kind where there's hate or resentment between each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just kind of like oh, it's my mom, with Lee being on her own. And then with her telling her, are you saying your prayers?
Yeah.
And she's all like, yeah, I haven't, she's honest with her.
Yeah. And it's
yeah.
And you don't think anything of it. You don't think it's going to be like anything in relation to what's going on. Just the fact that, oh, moms always want you to pray. You don't think anything of it, but then it's like, oh, now we know why.
Now I get it. Yeah.
So I think we should probably, like, especially this early phase, I think we should just describe the brutality, like the nature of what we're investigating, of the investigation. Obviously a series of what appear to be murders of people, of families going insane, killing each other, and yet someone is taking credit for them. It just looks like random bits of violence where someone in the family goes ballistic and kills everybody, but yet someone's claiming responsibility, calling himself Longlegs. And much like those crimes, the way this movie was advertised was just that right level of cryptic. I mean, how did you, when you saw like all the advertising around this movie, I mean, did you have theories in your heads of what this movie was?
I'm glad you asked that, because I actually did not. I saw a couple, like the one was, it sounded like a 911 call was one of the earlier ones. And he said something like, that's not my daughter. After that, there were like the trailers. I just started not watching them, like ignoring them, because I wanted to go in not knowing anything. And I remember sitting in the movie theater and they would play the trailer and I would look away because I didn't want to see anything.
Yeah. That's actually that's me right now with Alien Romulus. Like, after that amazing teaser, I don't need to watch it again. And I was just in Deadpool meets Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine. And I was like, they play the Alien Romulus. I'm like, no, closing my eyes.
When I went in, or what little bit that I saw with the marketing, I didn't think it was going to be supernatural. I really didn't. I went in thinking it was just going to be like a Silence of the Lambs type, serial killer.
The teaser ad campaign was amazing because they really did a good job with just showing isolated clips, especially of the murders. I mean, they definitely laid into that one image of the woman tracking the knife across her midriff. But man, one thing they did really good, and here's the latest issue of Fangoria, where, well, this is the subscriber edition. So they played hard, where they even like made sure that the cipher.
That's awesome.
And they just did such a good job. They understood that the imagery of this film was going to be so bold that they didn't have to show anything else to get people to go, what the fuck is this movie?
Yeah.
Got the hint that there might be some kind of supernatural element. So that part of the movie did not surprise me whatsoever. And the major thing they were smart to conceal, of course, was Nicolas Cage himself.
I love that they did that. First scene.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, okay. But I love that they didn't like show him all the way.
Yeah, and I know that apparently Nicolas Cage, he has said he's never playing another serial killer again after that. Is like, he will never do that role again, because that playing Longlegs really unnerved him to a level that he didn't anticipate.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because it unnerved me. I can't even imagine what kind of places he had to go to be able to get into that character.
Yeah, and that first scene and just the way he interacts with people, that's the kind of guy who very clearly has never had much in the way of human contact, and whenever he does, he gets those are the kind of people who are so excited to be talking to people. They get giddy and they get like way too excited to the point where they become very off-putting. I mean, like, just
creepy giddy.
Yeah, creepy giddy. I mean, those are the kind of people you would expect to make like my size dolls, and think that that's like the most adorable, like little inanimate Megans for your child. too. With Satan balls in the head.
Satan balls. But yeah, that first scene, I was like, oh my gosh, just like Stephen King's It, but scarier to me.
Yeah, and the ed. One thing I described to people, and tell me if you agree with this, like as a credit to Osgood Perkins and just his DOP and the editor, actually, I'm just everything about the technical side of this movie. I described to people as like every frame of this movie, you feel evil. Like there's a sense of evil in every single frame of this movie. Even not even the ones where you see like the horned beast like hiding in the background. I'm talking about just like every frame. There's just this sense that there's some power that is just controlling the events that you see, and
the sense of dread throughout the whole movie. Oh yeah, I felt completely uneasy through the whole thing.
Yeah. And that, I think that's why I was glad that there was humor in the movie, because I'm like, good, we need little bits like that just to kind of just help us along, because otherwise this movie would be just dour. I mean, yeah, I had seen The Blackcoat's Daughter, and that movie is just, it's great, but man, it's gloomy. It's just a gloomy
It is
all the way through.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it like going, ooh, I'm wondering what's going to be like sitting in the theater watching Longlegs. But then all the scenes between Harker and Carter, I believe his name, Blair Underwood's character, actually had a nice levity about it, which actually made it a lot easier to watch by comparison. So
yeah, we needed the girl at the hardware store, Os Perkins' daughter.
Oh, is that who that was?
That's his daughter. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And he's like, I cast her in it because I knew that she would play the perfect like teenager, unbothered. Okay, creepy guys here again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, I couldn't even imagine myself if a guy, started doing that to me like that. I'd be, frankly, me, I would, I'm an idiot. I would probably try to challenge him. I'd probably do something equally weird back at him.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he'd be either insulted and probably send it all my way, or be highly entertained. I don't know what I do.
I don't know what I would do either. Probably go to the back. Okay, Dad, you're gonna have to handle this guy because I can't.
Nah.
That was so weird.
Yeah, and that's such a credit to, I guess I think it's just the brilliance of casting Nick Cage in general, because he's going to find a route to go down, which normally in most other actors' instincts, and I would even say some writers' instincts, they would play Longlegs out to be a pedophile. They would play him out to be like some lascivious individual. But never once when I look at Longlegs, he's off-putting on his own, but I never get the vibe of anything other than the fact that this person just sees everything on a wavelength that the rest of us just don't, and is obviously wired in a way that the rest of us are not, and so therefore he cannot interact with people in a normal way. I think. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just
which made him so much more scary, because it's like, okay, what's your angle, bro? Like,
yeah,
you're not a creeper, but you're not that kind of creeper. He was just very good at playing such an unsettling character.
Oh yeah. And actually, here's a fun bit of trivia. You're gonna love this. When we get to the interrogation scene after Longlegs is arrested, they had a body mic on Maika Monroe for her side of the scene when they're recording it, and they're both on set together. Apparently, Nicolas Cage got Maika Monroe so worked up, when filming her side of the scene, that apparently the body mic picked up her heartbeat.
I heard about that.
Yeah, it picked up her heartbeat, and Oz Perkins immediately picked up on it. And from what I understand, he actually worked it into the score of the movie. They actually worked it into post-production to really kind of up the tension of the scene. So
I love that.
And Maika Monroe's like going, yeah, that there was an energy in that room which I was not enjoying, but it worked. So
yeah.
Well,
it came across the screen because I felt it. It was just, I was so creeped out.
Yeah, and just seeing Nick Cage under, I'm trying to remember. Have we ever seen Nick Cage under heavy makeup like that before?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Not like that.
Yeah, where he's like basically unrecognizable. Well, there is a Cage out moment in the movie, but I mean, apart from that, I mean, it's like that's oh man, I'm sure I'm not alone here in saying that I'm happy that we're living in an age where Nicolas Cage is, like a god again,
Yes.
kind of thing. Just getting a chance to show off. I don't know. I think the internet saved Nick Cage and like turned him into the icon that we now know and love, and gave him the chance to do roles like I still haven't seen Pig yet. I heard that one is like a real
Yeah, I haven't seen that
yeah,
either.
yeah. I've heard amazing things about that. I mean, the unbearable weight of massive talent was bliss.
That other one too, that was like the Five Nights, Willy's Wonderland,
Oh, Willy's Wonderland. Yeah.
where he didn't speak.
Mhm.
He was great. I loved him in that.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason why Nick Cage has become so beloved now is I think people have looked at him and realized this is an actor who will go for it. He will just
Oh, absolutely.
and he will find an angle to explore that probably even the director themselves probably didn't think about up to
Mhm.
that point. I mean, here in Longlegs, I mean, who would have thought this this character is going to have moments where he's going to start chanting songs from T-Rex?
I love that. And the screaming in the car. I'm like, okay, that's Nick right there.
There's our Nick.
Which I
There's
kind of
Nick.
needed that because I was like, okay, laughing. I
I
needed that.
I don't know if I needed it, but I'm like, well, there's a part of me like going, okay, it's Cage, and we're gonna get a Cage, but I'm like, no, I don't want the Cage freak out now. You could keep the Cage freak out. No, no.
I
Ironically,
actually laughed during that part. I'm like, okay, I can laugh at something. All right, let me
yeah.
just take a little breather here.
Ironically, I had an easier time watching him smash his face into it. I had an easier time with that than his Cage freak out in the car.
Yeah.
And I just realized, what is it with us you and me doing reviews where characters are smashing their faces into the table?
I know, right? Yeah, the last time I saw something like that was when Talk to Me, which
actually, for me, it was Brooklyn 45. And ironically, I just did a video of that, or a podcast on that one recently, where a character starts smashing his face onto a table till his face is.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Actually, I'm noticing that. Okay. I admit, okay, there's one little nitpick. When that scene does happen, I was predicting, well, the only thing I can imagine he's going to do to himself right now is smash his face on the table. And yeah, lo and behold, that's what he does to himself. And I think a lot of
so good. You're
Huh?
so good. I just sat there like, oh God, what's he going to do next?
and I think a lot of it is because of Talk to Me and because of Brooklyn 45, where both of those had amazing scenes where a character smashes their face to a pulp on a table or something like that. So that's the only thing I could imagine. But then again, I'm not going to use that as a slight against the movie. That's just because I just am used to it, so I'm used to seeing it. But I'm not going to slight, because in the end, it still worked for the scene, especially when one of those smashes leads to a blood splatter, which just like decorates the wall and all over Harker himself. That
For
I think
sure.
that I think that alone made it work right there. You didn't expect the paranormal element to it, so you didn't find that jarring at all when we got into that?
I wasn't expecting it, like the whole doll angle, but I'm like, okay, I can roll with this. But the whole satanic thing, like I wouldn't say jarring, but it caught me off guard a little bit. But then I'm like, okay, I'm watching Oz Perkins, and you see the imagery, which is what made me think of Blackcoat's Daughter, where you could see the shadow in different frames of the movie.
Yeah.
So I figured it was coming.
I'm wondering if for a lot of people who may not have anticipated the actual paranormal angle to it, because for me, like, this is why I always say I need to get around to rewatching Hereditary, because I wasn't expecting that to go full paranormal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I expected that to be like just a psychodrama that just goes to hell kind of thing, but I wasn't expecting it to actually have like paranormal elements to it. So this one, I think because I got the vibe that there was going to be something like that, I was able to handle it. Also, I'm going to add, this one doesn't go as crazy as Hereditary does. In this one's defense, this one does not go as crazy as Hereditary. Yeah. I mean, though, and they kind of hold your hand in this one. I think pretty much at the second, Lee's mom blows open the doll's head and we get the big old info dump about the truth about everything. I think that kind of made it. I think that's why audiences have been accepting of the movie so far, is the fact that the movie holds their hands in the right spots to kind of help them accept the fact that, oh yeah, Satan's real, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're supernatural, and then okay, we're going for the whole satanic thing.
Yep, Satan's real, and he likes making parents kill their own families. Since we're talking about the Black Coat Star, we actually should probably talk about the one scene cameo appearance of his star of that movie, Kiernan Shipka.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, of course, most people know her and love her from The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, but I mean, obviously she came back for this one because she played the lead in The Black Coat's Daughter, which she was fucking amazing in.
Oh, yeah. And I just saw her in Twisters too, by the way.
Oh, she's in that.
She's in that. Yeah.
Ah, joy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I did see her. I saw her in Totally Killer last year, and she was, of course, freaking amazing comedy leading lady. She has.
I love that movie.
The humorous thing about Kiernan Shipka's role in this, I'm trying to remember. I think there was some behind the scenes talk where when they looked at the script and they looked at that scene, and they're like, it was kind of the George Lucas syndrome where people were going, no one's going to be able to fucking say this line. No one's be able to say this dialogue. And then Kiernan Shipka comes in and just completely slays that dialogue.
She did it in one take, I believe. Yeah, right?
Yeah, in the shortest freaking shooting day I can only imagine. But yeah, just one shot, just her sitting there doing that amazing, incredible monologue. And I was like, man, she's gonna win the Oscar one day.
She's amazing.
She's gonna win something one day, and I think it's gonna be pretty up soon. Though I have to talk about the going back to the weird bits of humor, we have to talk about the guy who runs that mental institution. That effete gentleman who runs the thing, who clearly doesn't give a toss about security, where it's like going, didn't you get the guy's idea? We should start doing that.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea.
I'm like, there's a little part going, was this guy serious? Is this guy legitimately lax in his security that he's going to just let anybody come see a trauma patient?
Sure, why not? I mean,
I love the guy. I mean, all right. I gotta ask: have you ever seen Samurai Cop?
No, I
okay.
haven't.
All right, Samurai Cop is easily one of the worst films ever made, but it's also one of the most entertainingly bad films ever made. And in the movie, there is this effeminate waiter character.
Where's her father?
Bang! Killed? Who shot him?
He.
Who?
Him.
Who's him?
Himself.
Honey, you sneeze glitter. That's how effeminate this character is. And this guy who ran this hospital reminded me of that character. Actually, he reminded me like a more legit, down-to-earth version of that character. And I'm like going, good for you, dude. You're running your own asylum. Poorly.
I'll have to watch that. What is it? Samurai
Cop.
Samurai Cop.
Okay. I don't know if we'll be friends after you watch it, but I'd say the best way to watch it with the riff tracks audio, because that's pretty much the best way to watch it. But I guarantee you will use the quote, "I want his head and I want it placed on my piano." Yes, I will take his head and I will place it on your piano. Here we go.
That sounds awesome.
Here we go, Osgood Perkins. You make a beautiful movie and we're associating it with one of the worst movies ever made. We're sorry, but we're also not sorry. One thing that surprised me, well, again, I had no indication of what the box office was going to be like on Longlegs, but when I got into the theater, I like sitting in the second row a lot of times in the movie theater. Especially with a horror film, I like sitting in the second row. I was unexpected. The entire theater was full, like behind me. So did you have that when you're at your screening?
Yeah.
And how was the theater?
It was full, and I'm like, please don't be jackasses and talk during this movie. But no, everyone was like really into the movie.
Yeah. It was, that's my favorite. I don't mind a full theater, just so long as you're right, as long as everyone is like in the moment and just focused.
Yeah. Yeah. And I knew it was going to be a quiet movie, you know, with the slow burn type. So when I saw like there were some teenagers coming, I'm like, shit, you know, there were teenagers, but no, everybody was really into the movie, which is really cool because it's pretty rare now that you get something like that with a full theater.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, beyond the full theater, but you're always terrified of the full theater experience because you're always worried that, yeah, you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of jerks. Though I'm discovering, all right, I think there's a chemistry going on here. I think it's the theater has to be totally full because when it's full, I think while people may talk, they won't be like so obnoxious because they know they're surrounded by a shit ton of people who might want to kick their ass. But if it's like a theater that's like sparsely, then you're going to run into people who are going to be jackasses because they're thinking like, well, I'm all the way over here. They're not going to hear me or anything like that. So I'm wondering if that's the case. Because when I went to go see When Evil Lurks last year, I had a horrible first screening because it was me and this obnoxious ass family that was like right behind me.
Oh, I hate that.
Not shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I think that's what it is because I think because I was same thing with Maxine. I was in a early preview screening. So the theater was like nice and packed from people who wanted to see it. They were reacting in all the right ways. I think that's what it is because they were a full theater. I think it was full of people who just wanted to see Maxine. So and even Deadpool yesterday when I went to go see that, full theater, everyone was just there to have a good time. And I think that's the key. I wonder if that's what it is, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to the early screening of Maxine too, and it was really nice that everyone was there to see it. Everybody was excited and they laughed in the right parts and reacted. And it's so fun when that happens.
Exactly. I think that's the thing. Whenever anyone talks about like how horrible it is to go to the movie theaters again, all I have to say is like, yeah, you know, that does suck. But man, when you get those audiences who are just so on the same wavelength as you, man, the experience can't be topped. And I went to go see Longlegs twice in the theater twice that weekend when it came out, and both times I saw it. Once the second time I was with my co-host Natalie, and all of us were just they were transfixed. The whole audience was like really like responding to Longlegs, and I think and a lot of it was just even the moments of laughter were so.
The nervous laughter.
Yeah, a lot of nervous laughter. There was like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? How are we supposed to react to this?
Yeah.
So for everyone at home, it sounds like we're going all over the place, but I think a lot of it really does come to the fact that Longlegs is a film that kind of exploded in the eyes in our cinematic landscape right now, and it really kind of reminded people how much fun it can actually be to go to the movies and actually go among, be among other people. And I know that this film is I know there is a divisive edge about this movie. I know that there are some people who weren't as receptive to it as others, but I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that. I don't want everyone loving the same thing.
Right. I feel like at this point, I don't know. I feel like some people just like to go against the grain and be like, "Oh, I thought it was horrible." You know what I mean? I don't think we've had a movie where everyone really liked it. I think, especially being a horror movie, very divisive. Oh, it was a letdown. It was a disappointment. And I don't know what they were hoping for. I thought it was great.
Yeah. All I really need nowadays, I mean, the one thing horror movies have over, I think actually the one thing they have over practically any other type of movie is that most horror movies tour the festival circuit before they even see big release. So you get the hype just from people who've actually gotten a chance to see it fresh, right there in that moment. And most of the hype you get is from those festivals saying this is going to be this is going to be the biggest thing in the world. I mean, that's how stuff like Late Night with the Devil got hyped. That's how In a Violent Nature got hyped.
Skinamarink,
baby. My number one of last year.
Yeah.
And I don't care who anyone says, that movie freaked me right the hell out.
I have a feeling if I watched it at home with all the lights out by myself, I would get freaked out.
And that's why I do love that a lot of these festival releases do get a limited release prior to release on streaming, because a lot of times these movies are made to be enjoyed in the theaters. And that's why I'm glad Longlegs has had such a healthy theatrical run where people got a chance to enjoy this first and foremost in the theater, because normally a movie like this, if it didn't have hype, it would have been sent to streaming so fast.
I'm looking forward to watching it at home too, because there's something that freaks me out about watching, like the movie, The Last Exorcism.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that movie? I remember watching it at the movies and it was like, oh, okay, yeah. But for some reason, and this happened with The Witch too, when I watched it at home, it just hit different. I don't know if it was the mood I was in. I don't know if it's because I'm by myself with the lights out, but I was like, okay, that kind of fucked me up a little bit, you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
The Witch did that and The Last Exorcism, which both of those I was like, okay, yeah, I enjoyed those, but it was just different when I watched it
Yeah.
at home.
It's so well. See, this is why I do think the theatrical experience is so vital, because the mood you get when going to see it in the theater is so different from when you see it at home. And you're illustrating that point right there. Some people will say that, I mean, a lot of times when you go see a comedy in the theater, everyone's laughing, everyone's having a good time, and you're getting off on that energy. Then you watch that same comedy at home, and the energy is just different because it's just you laughing at it. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued about when I finally show Lynn Longlegs, and because I know they're going to want to see it because of course hype, but I'm also intrigued for myself because I have a feeling this one will still work at home, because honestly I think it would work at home principally because of the invasive nature of the threat that Longlegs poses in it. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, one way or another, I'm pretty sure if Longlegs brought a giant doll to your house, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't let either of them in. But if Alicia Witt with a my size Megan at your door, would you let that in either?
Oh, hell no. No. No, no, thank you. No,
No.
no dolls here. And no life-size dolls that look like me because they look
Oh
like
no,
the girls.
especially
Yeah.
not if it looks like me. Honestly, nowadays I would buy one if it would look like Megan. But I mean, I'll buy
Yeah.
the Megan one. Yeah, just get me one that looks like Megan. I'm fine. But I would not want one that looks like myself or like Lynn. We would be saying nope.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
thank you.
Hmm. And especially when you drape it in a black veil and you could see the eyes just
That
oh
was so, yeah, that black veil. Oh my gosh.
yeah. Oh, and that's the thing Osgood Perkins did. They did really great in The Black Coat's Daughter, but he really did even well here. And that's something that taps into me. I mean, I remember the movie Parasite did it, where you see the shot of the guy like looming up over the staircase, scaring the kid when he's like raiding the fridge. It's like that. Those kind of shots freak me out when you got something staring at you,
Oh yeah.
and it looks sinister, and you don't know its intention. You don't know what it wants, but it's staring at you. That right there actually like freaks me out. So when they have these great shots in Longlegs of just the doll under the veil, and you can vaguely see the eyes underneath, and you can
That's
tell
so freaky.
yeah, and you can see in the post prod where you could kind of see where the eyes are like more pronounced. But I'm like, that works for me. So
Yeah. So I just went to Texas for a family reunion and I stayed at my aunt and uncle's house. And the room that I was staying in, my aunt had a bunch of dolls
oh no.
sitting on the headboard. I'm like, oh, and one of them, I felt like she was staring into my soul. So I switched that room because my parents were there. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go sleep in the living room. I slept on the couch. I'm like, no, no, thank you. It was those dolls and they look so lifelike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, and I'm sure they're like, well, I don't understand why you do it. It's like, all right, here's a film. It's called Dolls by Stuart Gordon. Just watch that and then tell me that I'm irrational.
Dolls and Dolly Dearest.
Dolly Dearest, I mean, Megan, yeah, back to Megan, but there's a whole cross section of movies that pretty much say fuck dolls.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, after watching Longlegs, no, thank you. I'll sleep in the
Yeah.
other room.
Yeah, definitely not. But actually this is going to lead to an interesting thing. There's an idea where, yeah, our rational minds would say fuck no to taking this doll in, but we got to remember this doll is imbued with the power of Satan. So we do have to be left to wonder, were any of these people have any kind of independent thought when they brought that into the house? Or were they just pretty much screwed the second the doll showed up?
That's true. Like looking at the doll, were they
Mhm.
under the influence to let it in, to let them
Yeah,
in? Yeah.
pretty much. I mean, actually, you could even say that about the ending of the movie. I mean,
Hmm.
I know that there was. I was even wondering myself why Harker, even though it's blatantly obvious, Carter is and his wife are under the influence of the doll, and he takes his wife in there, and it's very clear he's killing her. Why didn't Harker go in to stop them? And I'm left to wonder, maybe Harker herself couldn't control herself either. Like maybe she couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I felt like she was influenced too,
Mhm.
and then and Ruby just sat there. So I
Yeah.
guess once it's in there, everyone that's
Yeah.
there within its presence is influenced.
Yeah. And even Lee tries to shoot the doll itself, and she
Hmm.
couldn't. And she obviously tried to pull the trigger, but the trigger wouldn't go. So it's like there's obviously a power there that even she can't fight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay to let her kill Carter and obviously kill her own mom, but in
Hmm.
the end, Satan's saying like, yeah, and you're gonna look like a freaking lunatic. You just shot your superior officer and you shot your mom.
Hmm.
That makes me sad because Parker don't deserve that.
No, she doesn't.
Hmm.
She doesn't. And I remember reading, the interview where Oz Perkins was saying he went through all of this just to basically screw with Lee into getting her to kill her own mother, because that's what he does. That's
Yeah,
crazy to me. I'm like, you mean you went through all that trouble to get to her for all of this?
yeah. And
Yeah.
we as the audience, understand why she did it. I mean, her mom did some horrible shit. And
Mhm.
and I love a movie with legit conflict where it's like you understand why a character does a horrible thing, but then the more they do it, you're thinking, is it worth the price? In this
Mhm.
case, her mom obviously did it to save her from Longlegs, because otherwise Longlegs would have just done to them what he did to like a bunch of other families.
Mhm.
But in doing so, he basically made Lee's mom his acolyte, made him his Lynette Fromm, and made her do all of his dirty work while he made the dolls in the basement
In her basement. That's
all
another
throughout her
thing that I'm like, oh
childhood.
my gosh, the whole time. I mean, you were kind of the man downstairs too, because you were in the
Yeah.
basement, serving the man downstairs even further. But yeah.
Yeah. Serving the man downstairs who's serving the man downstairs. That's like
Yeah. Dude,
that's
the Polaroid moment.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
I think I
Oh.
let out a squeal or something when that happened. And my brother's sitting next to me. He's like, dude, I felt a chill all the way down to my feet. He's like, I think my soul left my body. That was a
Yeah.
good moment.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, normally I'm not a big fan of when they do editorial jump scares where they just do a jump scare
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Mhm.
But that was that one time where it just worked for me because again, I think that's the good part of having Lee have this ability is that that we have a context for the idea that she'll get flashes of
Mhm.
something in her consciousness. So when she touches something or comes into contact with something that will invoke a memory, those random cuts will work because it's the idea that she's getting that flash in her head, and it's
Mhm.
meant to be as disorienting to her as it is to us. So I feel like that. So that worked for me in this case. It just says a lot when a movie does something that normally you're like, you're doing that, but when they do it, it's like, okay, you did it and it worked.
Yeah, very effective. I can't remember the last time that I felt that way over like that quick jump scare. The only thing I could think of was when I watched The Ring and the mom said her face and they cut to the girl in the closet, Katie in the closet, and her
Mm-hmm.
face is all
Oh yeah,
distorted. And that was like
yeah.
just so, I can't think of another time other than Longlegs that I felt that way over, I guess what you could call a jump scare, but it's
um,
better than a jump scare.
I mean, I could definitely name a couple of jump scares that got me over the years, but I'd say if you had to think one of a similar ilk to this, where it made me an entire theater jump, ironically, wasn't even a horror movie. It was the first Spider-Man. When Norman Osborn comes to consciousness, he's like, "Last night I was," and then they do a smash cut to when he's like, kind of
Mhm.
like a pure Sam Raimi smash cut to him back when he's dosing himself up on the go-go juice and kind of thing. The entire audience just like, yeah, and like, God damn it, Sam.
Gotta love Sam Raimi.
But no, Osgood Perkins. Well, I mean, I only saw Black Coats. I haven't seen Gretel and Hansel, but I would definitely say Longlegs is a stronger film by comparison, just because I think this one has a good amount of levels. But I will say the Black Coat's Daughter is a really good indicator of his good sense of mood and, well, definitely of character. Like, he definitely has a good sense of graceful dialogue. Because I would say the one thing I did notice about Black Coat's Daughter was just how graceful it was, just the way he has characters just naturally interact with each other, and just you understand them, you get the ebb and flow of their nature, just who they are, and just the idea that whatever darkness that you're about to go down just feels natural. You never feel like it's out of character for the movie. You just know that you're going to be in for some dark shit when you go down this path.
Oh yeah.
Though, to this one's credit, I mean, even though with the comparisons to Seven and Silence of the Lambs, this one did not have the level of, so I don't think this one had the kind of like the salacious or even the lurid edge that those had. I think by giving this one the paranormal edge, going into the realm of the unknown, so there's more of a trepidation because you don't know what you're going to find. And I think when you take that in conflict with Silence of the Lambs or Seven, those are, as much as I love those films, they are serial killer thrillers. And usually when you go down the road of a serial killer, you're always going to go down these places where you're going to find them as like disgusting, depraved, or a lot of times even a sexual slant, or some kind of thing that's going to be disgusting or, nasty. But I was kind of impressed that Longlegs didn't go that route. Like,
Right.
if you know what I mean, if you kind of know what I mean.
Yeah. There's like I guess, formula to, Seven, Silence of the Lambs, whereas Longlegs with the whole paranormal angle, the supernatural, it's kind of like, okay, all bets are off. Where are we going with this? Which is cool, not knowing.
Yeah. And even better is that they introduce it to you through odd avenues. I mean, yeah, the dolls are unnerving in itself, but then you bust open the head and you see this metal sphere. And even then, that in and of itself is a mystery, because they're like saying, okay, let's crack this sucker open. But then they're like saying, I don't know, I don't think I want to. Even the forensic specialist is like, yeah, what's the point? It doesn't even sound like there's anything in there. I kind of want to talk to my wife or something like that, hinting at the idea that this thing has a malign influence. And even then, you don't pick up on that reference until like way later. Then you realize, wait a minute, there's something going on here with this little metal ball. And even then you don't realize the true nature until you get to that moment when Lee's mom blows the head off the other agent in the car, and then she shoots the doll and revealing the black steam coming out of it. I want to dare try to cosplay Longlegs, though I want to see people try.
That would be, do you think we're going to see one at Spooky?
I would love it. I would so love it, just because it would be so ambitious. Just to see someone try the makeup. I mean, the wardrobe is a lot. I remember some people. What was some of the visual references? I know Tiny Tim was a major influence on the design of Longlegs, of the way he looks, and even just his cadence. And having seen Tiny Tim, I'm like, yeah, that's like, if you've ever seen Tiny Tim is he's kind of a comedy folk music artist. He's the one who did the song Tiptoe Through.
Yep.
Yeah. That was apparently a major influence on the design of Longlegs. And
I can see that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Once I made that connection, I was like, oh yeah, because I've seen Blood Harvest, and yeah, Tiny Tim's is a creepy guy.
Yeah.
So that worked real good for me.
I guess we'll have to wait and see what we see. I'm hoping somebody does it.
Oh no, rest assured, I will be filming every like awesome cosplay I see. And if I see someone doing Longlegs, I will make sure to film that and preserve posterity, because that's just wild. So thus far, the film, we're into the end of July now. How do you think Longlegs is probably going to make your best of this year?
I think so. We're halfway through.
More than halfway through.
More than halfway through.
Though I will say we've got some gems coming up this year, actually, which I'm like really excited for. Alien Romulus. I'm really stoked for Heretic, actually.
Oh yeah.
Just the idea of Mormon Saw is just kind of hilarious to me. Or
is it Hugh Grant?
yeah, Hugh Grant.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Or even and even one that looks so dumb but looks so entertaining is the latest from Shyamalan, Trap. That looks
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
dumb, but it looks so fun. So I'm kind of actually excited to see that.
Yeah. I'm
But
totally going to watch that.
yeah, and of course Shudder just keeps delivering on the goods as far as like their original content. So our cup's running. It's been a weird year where it's like it starts off so tame, but then all of a sudden shit explodes with like
Yeah.
awesome stuff to see like left, right, and center. So, and I think the time's going to have to tell for us. I mean, on how we feel about Longlegs down the line, but we shall see.
I think it'll stay up there as one of my favorites. Now, what do you think about like these movies that Neon is cranking out? Because they did
Immaculate this year.
Immaculate, yeah, and then
Yeah.
they've got Cuckoo coming out.
Oh yeah, you got Cuckoo, which again, the trailers have been so wonderfully vague about what the nature of the horror is on that one. I can't wait to dig in on that. Not for nothing, but I've also just been loving Dan Stevens in horror.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was so great in Abigail. He was so freaking awesome in Abigail. So
I loved Abigail.
Abigail was such a trip. I mean, that to me should have been this year's Megan. To me, that should have been this year's Megan. I wanted Abigail to take the world by storm the same way Megan did. I wanted, because to quote the Boulet brothers, to paraphrase the Boulets, Abigail served so much cunt in the same way Megan did.
Absolutely.
I don't know, but not for nothing. But Dan Stevens, just whenever I see him do horror, I just get excited because I know he's gonna just go for it. Because you can tell he loves doing horror. He loves doing it, and so yeah, Cuckoo's gonna be wild. I mean, I think if Longlegs is any indication of the kind of amazing stuff we're gonna get this year, well, that we've gotten, I think I'd say it's a testament to just why horror still just keeps winning above all. Where it's like. And just the idea that anyone who keeps saying no one wants to see anything original, and it's like, no, Longlegs just actually that's a good note to end on. Let's talk about why do you think it is that Longlegs exploded like it did?
Besides that awesome kick-ass marketing.
I'd say, well, I mean, I'd definitely say that's a good start.
But with like social media, what's really cool is now that we have somewhere to discuss horror movies, I feel like that's had such like a hand in, Megan, Talk to Me, Longlegs. I really do feel like people getting together and talking about it has a lot to do with how well the movies are doing. But
yeah,
Longlegs was just so, it was just so different and so unsettling. And it's just the kind of movie that you do want to talk to everyone about after watching it.
Yeah. At some point, I'm going to have a reunite with my friend Tally, who actually edits movie trailers for a living. So I want to talk. So I think the major factor of marketing a movie is showing people just enough, but not so much that that's why I will say flat out, I'm despising every goddamn trailer for the Speak No Evil remake. Just because they are giving away everything.
They are. I'm like, you just gave everything away here.
I think the point we're all trying to come to here is that Longlegs kind of hits something that a lot of other movies, especially a lot of horror movies that came out earlier this year, were trying to. Movies like Night Swim and With Imaginary were trying to hit into. And I think a lot of it really does. And like you said, I think it does come down to the fact that the advertising for Longlegs was just the right amount of cryptic, where it did not reveal the game of what it was, the kind of game it was playing, but enticed us enough with such fucked up imagery that made us go, what is going on in this movie that makes us want to see? And I think a lot of other people who cut movie trailers really need to take heed to that. I mean, I'm pretty sure here's a foreshadowing to everybody. Stay tuned, and we will be doing a whole thing talking about horror movie advertising, because that's a big topic in and of itself. So in the meantime, let's kind of bring it back home. Let's bring it home. So hard to decipher, but what would you say was your top kill in Longlegs?
I would have to say, I guess when Lee killed her mom, just because it was so wrong. So to me, yeah, I think that was my top kill.
Yeah. I think for myself, I think it would probably be that when we see the flashback of the family, when the husband just goes completely nuts and just buries the axe in people, just because I mean, as fun as it is to see gore effects, I'm always a big fan of just seeing just and I love how the fact of the camera, from what I understand, that was the camera point of view of the doll. Like you're actually seeing the doll's POV when it's going down. And I always love it when you see stuff like that in a wide angle because it feels the most naturalistic. I think it's the reason why I loved In a Violent Nature so much, is that because they film a lot of those kills on a wide, it makes them feel so much more natural and so real. And that, to me, when you just see the wide angle of someone just from afar taking an axe and just laying waste to everyone in sight, there's just something so raw and so real about that moment. So that's stuff like that's effective for me. So in this case, it's not about the gore, it's just about the simulation of being there witnessing a horrible moment when it happens.
I think for me it was more of the like the shock that, oh my God, she did it. So yeah, that would be the top four for me.
Okay. Can't think of anything else. And typically at this point I would ask, like, if you've seen anything awesome recently, but I think we've already answered that. We've seen some other awesome stuff. I definitely say watch Oddity. Was there any other ones that you saw recently that deserve attention?
No, I mean, not horror. Just like I said, the last thing I watched was Twisters, which was really good. It's not horror, but I'm a big Twister fan. Twisters was great.
Twister is just Jurassic Park, but in wind form.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go. It's horror now. I just made it horror for you. There. Actually, another one I watch, especially if you have kids or if you know anyone who has kids, but it's a gorgeous movie. It's on Shudder. It's called Moon Garden.
Okay.
Which I watched. It was a beautiful film. It's about a little girl who's like very little girl. Her parents are having a rough patch. And unfortunately, one night, their fight gets a little rough and the kid runs away in a fit and falls down the stairs and goes into a coma. And the whole thing in the movie is you're inside the child's mind. You're basically seeing her inner struggle to come out of the coma. So you're seeing this, and it's like this Guillermo del Toro-esque world where she's like navigating the recesses of her mind as she's trying to escape this freaky ass creature with like these chattering teeth, and that looks like kind of like a ticket taker on a train.
I was going to say, it sounds like a Cenobite. I was thinking of the Cenobite with the chattering
teeth. It's very
teeth.
Cenobite, but you see her go on this odyssey where she's like trying to regain consciousness, and you're seeing her family on the outside looking in, but it's a beautiful movie. I mean, it's obviously done on the cheap, but the filmmaker was so good with the budget that it feels right. It also feels like a Jim Henson movie in many respects, like one of those really dark Jim Henson movies, like Dark Crystal or Labyrinth. It's like that kind of level of dark but it's uninhibitedly, or Return to Oz. Actually, it definitely has a lot in common with that. So,
okay.
Yeah,
check it out. I love Shudder. Is that what you said? It's on Shudder?
Yeah, it's on Shudder.
Nice. Okay.
Oh yeah. No, that one is definitely another little recommendation on my side. I'll probably be doing a TikTok about it soon. But speaking of which, go ahead and give everyone your socials. Tell everyone where they find you.
You can find me at Spooky Scary Sparkle on TikTok, Spooky Scary Sparkle on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad you said that. I only know you Sparkle in Darkness, but I know you changed it. Like, I know Sparkle's in there somewhere. So I just so all right, everybody. I'd say go see Longlegs, but in all likelihood you probably saw it and you're probably like, going, guys, you're supposed to be talking about Longlegs. Like, it's like, yeah, but everyone's talking about we want to talk about it, but we want to talk about everything. Anyway, but that's
what happens when we haven't talked for a long time. So
yeah, especially, and but hey, sometimes when you have fun talking about one thing, you want to talk about so many other things on the side. There you go. We love Longlegs, and I'm pretty sure if y'all are listening to this, you all loved it too. So in the meantime, stay tuned for what we got coming next on What's on the Podcast. And in the meantime, if you are interested in delving deep into the dark bowels of human imagination, ask yourself this very simple question: what's in the podcast?
Thank you for joining us on this edition of What's in the Podcast. If you find yourself hungry for more deep cuts into the gloriously morbid and macabre, you can also find us on TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube at Narcotic Casserole. You can also follow us on Instagram at Narcotic Casserole 25. Also on Twitter. Yes, Twitter. Elon can suck it. at narcoticasser1, NARCOTICCASSER1. Follow us if you dare.